What's up, guys? So I got this Battlbox knife a while back. This is the Frontiersman survival knife. This is from Lord & Field. And I noticed when I opened it that it had this little Allen key, which is housed inside the handle, which is a pretty interesting design. And the idea is that you're able to take these scales off pretty much anywhere you go with the knife. Why would you want to take the scales off? Well, apparently there's some stuff hidden in here. So we're going to open it up and check it out. I wanted to do this a while back and literally just forgot about it. I put the knife aside and I was going through some stuff and found it. So here we are. We're going to take this apart and see what's going on inside. Now with this knife came this paper, which gives you an idea of some of the features and stuff. Might be a little bit hard to see with the kind of, old-fashioned or, worn paper look, but hopefully you can see some of those features there. As well as on the bottom, they give you a little sneak preview of what is inside. All right, so we're going to reference this as we take this apart. So yeah, here's a knife. I didn't get a chance to actually use this one yet, but right here, as you can see, there is an Allen key and a slot that's cut out for the Allen key. All right, so I'm just going to get my nail in there, pull this out. You can see the body screws, all right, for the scales. Let me get this started. Now, there's also Allen heads on the other side. All right, so I was unscrewing it from the other side, which is the female side of the screw. So if you remember where these are, when this thing was brand new, the right side of the knife has the male screw heads. So anyway, it's just easier if I were to unscrew it from the other side. So there's the screws. All right, I can put the knife down, lift up the scale, which houses some cool stuff. So we have a couple arrowheads here. So here's a close-up of those arrowheads. Very cool. We're going to pop those out in a second. Just a quick note, if you're taking this apart in the woods, as intended, be very careful, obviously, not to lose your hardware. It'd be very easy for one of the things to pop out and get lost in a pile of leaves or something. All right, so once you get the one scale off, you might or might not want to completely remove it. But I'm going to put this back in for now. So, use my little tool, push on the end here, kind of pop one of these out so you can take a look at it. You can see the scale through there, all right? So if you took the other scale out, these would literally just fall through. So keep in mind, it's a little bit tricky, again, if you're in in the woods doing this whole thing. It's a lot harder. I'm sitting at the table and still fumbling a little bit with this stuff. So there's one of the arrowheads. It's actually really interesting. It's way thicker than I thought it would be. Looking at them in the handle, it looks like they're really flat and thin, but that is quite a heavy, thick grind. Very nice and pointy though. And then the other side we have the, sharpened to like a wedge. So when you split your stick, you can actually kind of, push this inside of the wood. Because this has kind of a sharp edge on it, it should plant in the wood a little bit better. And then of course you can use cordage to tie that on. There's a couple holes in here which you can integrate as well, depending on how thin your cordage is. So pretty cool. Pretty interesting for sure. So I'm gonna put this one back in the handle there. All right, we're gonna look at the other side of the handle. Here is, again, for our paper, showing this is our bow drill, all right, bow drill divot. So if you are using a bow drill to make fire, it's nice to have that option on there. And then, of course, we have what they call the vault, which is basically just a little storage section. Now, this looks like some fire making material. All right, lifting it up, we have a couple fish hooks. So I'm guessing that there's probably some fishing line in here as well. All right, so I opened this up just to see exactly what was in here, because it looks like it was just some cotton material for fire starting, which is really nice. You have super dry tinder. Obviously it's wrapped in plastic as well, so even if the knife gets soaking wet and some water does get inside the handles for some reason, this would still stay dry. But to be honest, I'm a little surprised that there's no fishing line, because they have the fish hooks here. It would be really easy to just, wrap some line around here, at least, a couple feet, so you can fish a stream or something, or a river. So yeah, obviously if you have this knife or you get this knife, the first thing I would do is take the scales off. The fish hooks look totally fine. Of course, you can add whatever you want into this little vault section. But what I would do is I would keep this in the plastic, but I would just take some, finer fishing line, maybe something even, maybe some ice fishing line, all the way down to like 2-pound line or 3-pound line, so you can get some more on there and put, as much as you possibly can and still fit it back into the little vault section. Oh no, you know what? How about that? How smart. There's a magnet in here. And there's a magnet. I'm glad I took the rest of this apart. There's a magnet in here as well to keep your tool in. Because when I was first playing around with this, when I opened the Battlebox, I'm thinking, oh, that's pretty cool, but that's probably going to fall out, you know? So there is a magnet in there for retention. Very smart. And by the way, I love these micarta scales. Just really, really nice. So yes, magnet retention for your tool, as well as for those arrowheads, so when you do take it apart, they're not going to go flying everywhere. So, pretty smart thinking. Alright, so I'm going to put the knife back together. Let's see how easy this is. And again, remember, I'm on a tabletop here. Alright, so if you were to do this out in the woods, I highly recommend putting down a t-shirt, if you're carrying a tarp, a blanket, anything, some kind of flat surface where if you drop something, it is going to be easily found. On the bottom of the woods, or if you're out in the desert or something in the sand, there's a lot of little pieces here. Alright, so if you drop one, you'll probably go missing and then you might have some trouble. Alright, so first we have the back scale. Because of that little magnet, kind of holds it on here a little bit. So going to line up those holes. Alright, we're going to put in our female side. Alright. Going to rotate those in. Same thing on the back side. I'll line everything up. Now I'm going to kind of use my fingers to hold those from falling out. I'm going to put the arrowheads back in. Again, really like the fact that they do have the magnet in there. It's very smart. I think it's totally necessary in this case. Actually, I'm going to put this down for a second so we can put our little pad back in that section there. Now keep in mind too, when I flip this over, you know, you want to hold that, make sure it's not going to fall out, otherwise you're going to lose your hooks and everything too. Alright, so again, keep my fingers with those screws. Line this up a little bit. There we go. And the back ones kind of press fit into the wood, or excuse me, the micarta scales in the front, so they kind of hold now. So now it's a little bit easier to get these screws. Actually, let's do one at a time. And of course, we're just going to screw these back in so they're nice and tight. That's all it took. Alright, so that was a lot easier just turning the male part of the screw. What I was doing is I was unscrewing it from the female side, and I was just turning it and turning it. It was already unscrewed, but it just didn't feel like it was loose yet. Alright, so there's the screw. Make sure you lightly rotate backwards before you go forward so you don't strip the screw or anything. Alright, it's probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 different rotations, full rotations. Now it's nice and tight. You can go ahead and get more leverage by using this end of the tool and just kind of pressure fit that down, just to make sure nothing's going to back off and get loose on accident. But yeah, that is really cool. Very nice. So the Frontiersman survival knife, I love the idea of having some of those little bonus things on the inside. Obviously, if you're a prepper or into any kind of bushcrafting or something, this might be a pretty interesting design. And then again, you can put your tool back in here, and it's just awesome to know that there's a magnet in there. Right, because that was one of my biggest critiques is, hey, what if you're cutting something and I mean, there's nothing saying that that can't happen if you're cutting through wood, especially if you're using this a little rougher and you're not really paying attention. A little piece of wood or something could grab maybe the tip of that and kind of push it out, but I doubt it. I doubt you're going to have any force from the bottom up. More than likely, you're, you know, obviously having force against the edge while you're cutting stuff. All right, so very unlikely in my opinion. It can't shake out, again, because of that magnet. I didn't know that was in there until I took the knife apart, so my assumption is that maybe you could kind of shake that out, or maybe just from bouncing around to get loose and eventually fall out. But you know, after trying that, I'm definitely more you know, more confident in that tool staying where it's supposed to be. So pretty cool, very interesting knife. So yeah, I just wanted to do a video on this. When I did the Battlbox unboxing and I opened this knife, I mentioned that I wanted to eventually do that, and just never got around to it. So I just did it right now. So that's it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do apologize for the delay. I will say this, I mean, you guys know I don't script any of my videos. I turn a camera on, I just start talking. So sometimes, like if I'm doing an unboxing, I might say, hey, you know, I'm gonna review this, or I'll try using that or whatever. And sometimes I forget. This is one of those cases where I said I was gonna take this apart to look at it and talk about it, and just totally forgot about it. But once I saw it, I knew that I remembered that I talked about it, and I'm glad I did, because I learned a little bit more about this knife that I didn't know from the paperwork that it came with. So it is a pretty interesting design. So anyway, that's it for now. If you guys happen to have this knife and been using it, let everyone know in the comment sections what you think of it. And hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Take care.